Have you ever stopped to think about what really happens after we take our final breath? I'm not talking about vague theories or movie plots. I'm talking about that moment when everything goes silent and the soul begins its journey. Most people avoid thinking about this, and honestly, it's enough to send chills down your spine. But ignoring it doesn't change what's waiting for us. The truth is, when the heart stops beating, something much greater begins. And it doesn't matter if you're religious, skeptical, or undecided, what comes after death is a reality we all share. There is a judgment after death, and yes, it's immediate. So are we ready to face the eyes of eternity? Do we even know who comes to get us, what will be asked, or where we'll end up? In this video, you'll discover what happens from the moment the soul separates from the body all the way to the final judgment. We'll talk about angels, demons, the books of records, the mysterious Barzakh, and even the spiritual interrogation that takes place in the grave. Don't wait until the end to find out what comes next. Come with me, and get ready for a journey that begins right where life ends. They say the moment of death is silent, but spiritually, it's a thunderclap. When that last breath escapes, it's not just the body that quiets down, the soul awakens to a reality that was hidden. It's like a veil is torn. That's when the judgment after death begins, a crucial moment when the invisible becomes more real than the ground beneath our feet. Status, career, bank accounts, in that instant, all of it becomes worthless. The soul, at that exact moment, is not drifting aimlessly. It is received or rejected. Angels step in not like the gentle figures from children's books, but as powerful beings with a mission to protect or to collect. True believers are wrapped in a peace so deep, no words could ever describe it. But the unbelievers, or those who lived in rebellion, are seized by a terror more intense than any nightmare. And it's no exaggeration, spiritual accounts describe even demons approaching, trying to sway the soul before it's too late. That moment reveals everything that was hidden behind appearances. The rushed life, the neglect of faith, purpose, or truth, all of it weighs heavy now. What follows isn't automatic eternal rest, it's the beginning of a journey. And it's during that passage that the true intentions of the heart are laid bare. Want to know what this journey looks like? Let's talk about it next. As soon as the soul leaves the body, it begins a journey unlike anything we've known. It's like crossing an invisible border where the senses sharpen and everything unclear becomes clear. In this journey, the angels play a key role. If someone lived with true faith, the angels of light gently escort them, like a child being taken home. But for those who lived far from God, there is often resistance, darkness, and fear. It's the beginning of the separation between the souls of believers and unbelievers. Many people think that dying instantly means peace, but that's not how it works. Peace isn't an automatic destination, it's a result. It's during this crossing that the value of every life choice becomes evident. Every word, every action, every decision, it all counts. And during this passage, spiritual forces are active. Angels defend the faithful soul, while demons try to confuse, delay, or distract. They whisper lies, feed doubt right up until the very end. It's like the spiritual battle we ignored in life suddenly becomes visible. But there's comfort. Spiritual accounts describe the righteous soul surrounded by heavenly fragrances, while the unrighteous feel the pressure of a space that keeps tightening. This isn't punishment yet, but it's a glimpse of what's coming. This journey exposes who we really were. And at the end of it, there's an unavoidable stop, the grave. And there, the spiritual visitors arrive without delay. After the journey, the soul doesn't fall into a deep sleep as many imagine. In fact, it awakens to a decisive moment, the interrogation in the grave. Two angels appear, Munkar and Nakir, figures feared even by those who don't believe. They don't come with violence, but with authority. Their questions are simple, yet piercing. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who is your prophet? But these answers can't be memorized, they must come from genuine faith. This is when many are caught off guard. Reciting prayers out of habit or attending church out of obligation won't help here. If faith wasn't real, if the soul doesn't truly recognize what it claims to believe, confusion takes over. The souls of the faithful answer confidently, like someone finally returning home. But the souls of unbelievers stay silent, stammer, or simply can't respond. The interrogation isn't just a verbal test, it's a revealing of the soul's essence. Accounts say that based on the answers, the soul will feel the relief of a window opened to paradise or the crushing weight of a door slammed shut. Munkar and Nakir are not the final judges, but they are the first messengers of post-mortem judgment. They show the soul its current spiritual state and prepare it for what's next. Because the time until the final judgment isn't over. There is a waiting place and it's not neutral. After the interrogation, the soul enters Barzakh, a mysterious interval between death and resurrection on the day of judgment. This isn't unconsciousness as some believe. On the contrary, the soul is fully aware, but in another dimension. It's like waking up from a dream and realizing the spiritual world is more vivid than the physical ever was. And then, depending on how one lived, the spirit begins to experience peace or torment. The souls of the faithful are received with gentleness. Some even describe a fragrance unlike anything that exists on earth. There is light, serenity, even glimpses of what lies ahead in paradise. But the souls of the rebellious are surrounded by deep anguish. A tightening in the chest as if they know there's no going back. Demons try to torment during this time, while angels stand guard. This is Barzakh in action, a time of waiting, but also of revelation. This interval is like a spiritual mirror. Here there are no masks. Those who faked their faith now face the emptiness of their words. Those who truly surrendered to God begin to taste the first fruits of the promised rest. Barzakh is not the final judgment, but it's a warning what's coming is eternal. And what is felt there is only a preview. Then when time reaches its fullness, something glorious happens, the resurrection of every human being. And with it, the final judgment. Barzakh might feel timeless, but it is counting down to a moment no human will escape, the resurrection on the day of judgment. When that day arrives, graves will burst open, and everyone without exception will be brought back to life. But not like before. It will be a resurrection with full consciousness, sharp memory, and an overwhelming sense of accountability. No one will say, "I don't remember." No one will hide. It is the ultimate encounter with truth. Imagine the impact of seeing kings and beggars, believers and skeptics, all standing side by side, waiting for the same judgment. The scene is described as immense, tense, even suffocating, the entire universe shaken. Angels descend in ranks. The heavens split open. And there, before the divine throne, the reckoning begins. Resurrection is not just a return to life, it's the unveiling of eternal destiny. The soul that rested or wandered in Barzakh now faces its moment of truth. This moment will be marked not only by God's presence, but also by the books, the records of actions. Everything said, done, or even thought will be brought to light. And no one will say they were judged unfairly. God's justice is flawless, no errors, no bias. But before the verdict is spoken, something happens. Each person receives the book of life, and with it, the weight of every choice becomes clear. Each person is handed their own book of deeds, a detailed record of everything they did, said, thought, and even wished in secret. This isn't a metaphor. It's literal. Every action is recorded with surgical precision. And the most terrifying part? The book doesn't lie. It doesn't omit. It doesn't forget. The soul, upon reading it, becomes fully exposed. And the impact is overwhelming. Many will wish they'd never been born. For some, the book will be handed in their right hand, a sign of redemption. For others, it will come from the left, a sign of condemnation. And there's no switching, no editing, no tearing out pages. It's the faithful reflection of the life they lived. Every sincere prayer, every hidden act of kindness, every moment of silent forgiveness, it will all be there. But so will every harsh word, every deception, every choice that pulled them away from true faith. The angels who recorded it made no mistakes. This book isn't just a report. It's the evidence. And it will determine the eternal verdict, heaven or hell. And it's not only about external actions, it's about the intentions of the heart. That's why, more than impressing others, what matters is living with authenticity before God. There's still time to change what's written in that book. As long as there's breath, there's hope. Because the next scene takes place before the throne, where everything is decided. And then silence. Every eye, every soul, fixed on a single point, the throne of God. There are no words to describe the majesty of this moment. No earthly comparison can match the glory, the light, the absolute authority that radiates from there. God doesn't judge in haste, nor with partiality. His judgment is perfect, just, and at the same time, full of mercy. But don't be mistaken, it is also relentless toward hypocrisy, pride, and deliberate unbelief. The soul, before the throne, can't pretend. There is no spiritual makeup that can uphold a false image. God sees into the deepest places what no one else ever saw. It's in that moment that the contents of the book of deeds are confronted with divine truth. Actions are weighed. Intentions are examined. The angels witness it. The demons. There are spiritual witnesses to everything. And the result? It doesn't depend only on the number of good works, but on the genuine faith that shaped those works. For some, the judgment will be a confirmation of grace. For others, an irreversible shock. There is no negotiation, no appeals, no justifications. The judgment after death is now final. But even then, God looks with eyes of justice tempered with love. Many will be saved not because they were perfect, but because they truly repented and lived sincerely. And then, finally, comes the moment no one can escape, the revelation of eternal destiny. Everything lived, thought, and felt culminates here. The revelation of eternal destiny is clear and direct: heaven or hell. There is no middle ground, no waiting room. The soul is taken to the place that reflects its choices. It's not a random punishment, it's a harvest. Those who lived with true faith and sincere repentance are wrapped in a peace that surpasses all understanding. A new beginning without pain, without fear, without tears. An eternity of fullness in the presence of the Creator. But the other side is just as real. Hell is not a figure of speech or a psychological metaphor. It's a place of total separation from God's presence. Souls that mocked faith, that hardened their hearts, that chose to live far from the light now face the consequences. Not because they lacked opportunity, but because they rejected the truth. And the demons that once tried to deceive the soul now become part of its torment. Justice is done, but not without pain. Even at this point, many still ask, but why? The answer lies in the freedom God gave us. He doesn't force anyone to love Him. Free will is honored to the very end. Life was the time for choosing. Eternity is the reflection of that decision. Judgment after death is not a spiteful punishment, it's a confirmation. And understanding that changes everything. Because as long as there is breath, there is still time to rewrite the soul's direction. But for that to happen, we must understand the value of true faith. True faith is not about memorizing verses or following rituals out of tradition. It's something that grows from within. It transforms the way we live, speak, and even think. It's more than attending services or praying mechanically. It's a real relationship with God, the kind of faith that holds firm in chaos, withstands doubt, and produces fruit in everyday life. At the judgment after death, no one is asked how many times they went to church, but how much they lived what they claimed to believe. And that difference is everything. True faith shapes our choices. It keeps us from treating others with coldness. It moves us to forgive, to seek justice, to let go of selfishness. That's why, at the moment of the grave's interrogation, only those with that kind of faith can respond with conviction. It's not about perfection, it's about sincerity. The soul that truly loved God recognizes His voice, even before the angels Munker and Naker. But those who lived behind a mask find themselves confused, speechless, like they never knew the truth at all. That's why, before death knocks at your door, it's worth revisiting what and who you believe in. Is your faith something alive, or just a label? A Sunday habit, or a daily transformation? Cultivating true faith is the only investment that crosses into Barzakh, that weighs on the book of deeds, and that gives you a firm answer before the throne. And while there is life, there is time. But not everyone realizes that until it's too late. And that's where the final warning comes in. It's strange how most people only start thinking about eternity when death feels close, through the loss of a loved one or a sudden illness. But why wait? The warning is already here, printed on every sunrise, in every news story, in every quiet night that invites us to reflect. The truth is, no one is guaranteed another minute. And judgment after death doesn't depend on age or church attendance. It simply happens. And few are ready. This message isn't meant to scare but to awaken. There's still time to realign your life with what truly matters. There's still time to review your choices, seek forgiveness, strengthen your faith, let go of habits that weaken the soul. You don't need to become a monk or run from the world, just start with small steps. How about setting aside real time to pray? Reading sacred texts with sincerity? Doing good without needing applause? These small actions are seeds planted into your book of deeds. The greatest tragedy is not dying. It's living as if eternity were a myth. It's spending your energy on things that fade while your spirit withers. This is the final call for those still alive and aware. Choose today the path of true faith, because the soul's journey, the grave's interrogation, Barzakh, the day of judgment, all of it is closer than we think. And when that final breath comes, there will be no turning back. So are you living like someone who will one day give an account? Or like someone who thinks life ends with the last heartbeat? Maybe this message stirred something inside you, an old question, a hidden fear, a desire to understand more. And that discomfort? It might just be the beginning of your transformation. After all, what would you do today if you knew you were just one step away from Barzakh? What would you change? What would you start doing with more depth? There's still time to pursue true faith, the kind that crosses death, responds before the angels, and shines in front of the throne. That decision is yours, and the right time is now. If this message stirred your soul, subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications and join us as we explore themes that transform not just the mind but the heart. Because here, every video is more than information. It's an invitation to eternity.